Mhm.
That should be sponsored by Starbucks. We are live. How's it going, Slavin? Welcome again, Boxing Chit 9 or
Just
Boxing Chit.
fine.
You know, CHIT, it can be considered
Yeah,
chit or it can be considered shit,
chit
you
chat,
know?
chit chat.
Yeah. One of those
Yeah,
little things.
it's going pretty good. Yeah, I mean it's a little windy day here, but it's not so bad really. We got some sunshine. Yeah,
Cool. Coming all the way from Norway. We're here in DC. We're about to get some rain. I think it's gonna really start to pour as we're in the midst of this thing. So we'll just keep moving. But yeah,
yeah,
let's get some warm weather in this thing eventually. But yeah, hope all has been well. Great night of boxing last night. A ton of events going on. We had a lot of stuff. I would say that this is probably one of the bigger nights so far in 2020, and I think it lit or
mm,
2022. My apologies.
yeah,
And I think it lived up to the hype. I'm going back a couple of years, but yeah, it lived up to the hype in my opinion. I know you probably weren't able to catch all of the fights given the time difference and everything, but I did
yeah,
want to start on and touch on uh, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. They were fighting for the undisputed championships at 135 pounds. Both of them being elite level boxers, probably the two or three best boxers in the world as far as the females are concerned, with Clarissa Shields being in that mix as well. But it lived up to the hype. It was at Madison Square Garden in New York, and it looked sold out or as close to sold out as it could potentially have been. And the two women put on a show, and I think this is going to be something that proves to be a great benefit to boxing on the female side. They did show that they can headline and they can put on excellent shows. And much like the male matches, it's all about the matchups because the matchups produce or matchups that are actually where you have two fighters who are on par with each other. They typically produce great action and just great boxing overall. So, what are your thoughts? It was viewed as the biggest female fight ever. What are your thoughts on how that has gone down as far as the promotion and then what this could potentially do, just even not seeing the fight, but just given the stakes of it, because I think it was trending on a lot of the social media at the time.
yeah. It was definitely an important event because also for not least for women's boxing, it was the first real how to say main event with two women fighting, because last year you had this in October in England, but that was like there was a fight that should have happened. It was cancelled. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, it was Dillian White and somebody else, but then they had a women fight instead as the main event, but that was
Okay.
not planned. But this was planned, so this is bigger.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they really work on the promotion. I mean, really, these late days, it's obvious. And I don't think I have before seen. That program, what is it called, face to face or something before the
Okay.
fight.
Yeah. The zone, their version of sort of the face off or something like that.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
don't think I have before seen two women in that program before. I think this was the first time probably, or but I'm not sure. But
No, I
anyway,
think you might be right. Because I
yeah,
know the last one that had some or similar height, but didn't build up to this degree was Clarissa Shields, Christina Hammer. But I don't remember a
yeah,
face off in particular.
yeah. But this I think was the first time they really had a feature two women in that program, which is big, and
Yeah.
that is the first time. So it means that finally this their boxing is also starting to get or approach anyway men's in terms of significance, even though it will always be somewhat behind. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not as far as behind as it used to be. Anyway, because
Uh,
10 years ago, who was watching women box? I mean, you had to be to be a
Yeah,
really big boxing fanatic to watch, women also
yeah,
if
yeah,
you are a man,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, let alone selling the way this one did. So it shows that the sport has changed somewhat. And shout out Siran or
Yeah,
Sierran Phillips. Thanks for joining in. My apologies if I butchered
I
the name.
think
But
I
yeah,
know
thanks for
him.
joining in again.
I think I know him from somewhere. I've seen his name. I think he was in a group where I also used to be.
Oh
Probably.
yeah, bless you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Cool.
My
Well, yeah,
brother.
bless you again. but but yeah, that's good stuff. I agree. I thought this did wonders for the sport and the females that are tied to the sport. And I think that this opens up the door for more. In the aftermath, they were discussing the possibility of the rematch taking place in Ireland, which would make it a big event for Katie Taylor. The some of the discussions made it seem as though she is what, like 34 maybe now. It seems as though
Yeah.
they were discussing, hey, her career is winding down here.
Mm,
That's at least how some of the discussions were going. But I think that if her and Serrano face each other in Ireland, I think that would be a huge event and would get some of the
mm,
same type of fanfare. And then should the verdict change as far as should Serrano win, that may open the door for a potential trilogy. I don't know that we've had a rivalry to this degree for the women, and I think this would be an added benefit to continue to boost the sport up a bit more. Um, and I will say that the fight in itself. So I was scoring it, of course. Scoring is always uh, suggestive.
subjective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You had to get that out of there. But basically I viewed it as a draw. Now some of those
All right.
rounds were close and I could see it being
That's good
argued
for
either
me.
way as far as Serrano or Taylor winning. I think that the person that caused the most damage was Serrano.
Yeah.
And she
That's,
had Katie Taylor looking as though she was about to drop her on more than one occasion. And I think if she would have got those knockdowns, then that could have played into her benefit. But Katie Taylor, I would say, she maintained her composure for the majority of the fight. And when she was actually on the outside and able to sort of fight based on her game plan, she did a lot of countering of what Amanda Serrano was doing on offense. So that proved to be of benefit for her. And Serrano in the fifth round, I think it was, almost had her out of there. And I think she used a lot of energy through the mix. So as those middle rounds went on a little bit, she kind of slowed down her output, and that may have been what
yeah.
put the judges in the favor uh, of Taylor. But overall, it was just a great fight of the year candidate. It might be the leading one right now at this point. I can't think of another one on this level that brought this type of sustained action. So yeah, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
fight of the year thus far.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen what a friend of mine, that also from the group boxing, Evan
Mm-hmm.
Anthony, he did see that fight, and he
Mm-hmm.
also had the same. He thought it should have been a draw, and he also said, yeah, that Serrano did most of the damage, but then she faded like in the later
Mm-hmm.
rounds, and that enabled Katie Taylor to come back, and yeah, kind of, yeah,
Yeah, that happens. Of course, when
yeah,
you get excited and you almost have someone out there you try to finish.
yeah,
She was close to it, but I think that if it would have been 3 minute rounds, then yeah, Katie
yeah.
Taylor wouldn't have been able to survive that. But
That's the big issue with that women's boxing. It's that those rounds are too
yeah,
short, and that's why there are so few knockouts happening. There, I believe.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm sort of impartial towards it. Part of me thinks that, oh yeah, 3 rounds would be great. Then a part of me thinks that, hey, these 2 minute rounds, you have some who still are able to do their thing and they have their power and all that stuff. Yeah, I guess it
Mm.
really comes down to more of the attrition aspect. If you
Yeah,
think about what the 3 minute rounds would bring to the table. But yeah, I'm a bit impartial towards it. Just thinking about
yeah,
it, I don't know that it
mm,
should just definitively happen. I think it should be a choice, between the women
Mm.
if they, and it's something
Yeah,
that's agreed upon by both.
yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I think so too. That's a good idea. It's kind of like when they had, in some play. I think before they had like, if there was a draw after 12 rounds, they had one more round. They fought
Okay.
one to break the draw, the 13th round. So that was a really good idea, I think. Also,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah, that would be interesting, sort of like a sudden death type situation. I've heard that
yeah,
discussed in some regards, and then I've heard
mm,
some discuss having an odd number of rounds.
mm,
And I've seen in some cases where there will be fights with 11 rounds.
yeah.
It all
That
depends, I
was
guess. But I guess
the
you could still theoretically get a draw,
yeah.
regardless.
I think in some of those Latin American countries
Yeah,
I've seen like 11-round fights. So that was like what?
yeah,
11 rounds.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was strange.
That's what I'm thinking of. Argentina, I've seen it done there for sure. Um, so yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Some of those countries. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think
Mm,
that we'll see. I think that this fight can sort of dictate like what the future holds in some sense because it's a lot of
yeah,
publicity and stuff tied to this one. So what these two ultimately choose to do, I think that could go a long way. But I will say that this was a great fight, and if even regardless of the 2 minute rounds or whatever, I think it brought a level of, the 2 minute rounds may have brought a level of excitement that otherwise wouldn't have
mm,
necessarily been there if it was 3 minute rounds. So
yeah,
I think this kind of made the case for, hey, 2 minute rounds isn't broken necessarily. I think Tony Bellew kind of alluded to the same thing. So I'm
mm,
good with the current format in some sense. And so thinking about that, the next question, of course, would be where did they go from here? And I think that the best thing is rematch. This has rematch written all over it. So hopefully that's what we see.
yeah,
I know there are some other fighters out there, Michaela Mayer, etc. But this just was made for a rematch. Getting one of those, it has that sort of Pacquiao Marquez,
mm.
Israel Vasquez, Raul, or what's the other Juan Manuel Marquez's brother,
Rafael,
Rafael. I was gonna say Raul, but not Raul. So yeah, Rafael Marquez. It has the
yeah,
feel of just a matchup where you have two guys or girls that are just made for each other. So I
that's
think
right.
that a rematch is probably the best thing to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and what I like about Katie Taylor is that first time she had like a disputed victory, which was against Delphine
Yeah,
Persoon. She gave her a rematch, so I think now also she would probably be open for a rematch since there are, I've seen some reports saying that Serrano was robbed and she should have won. That's the type
yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think robbery would be a strong. Some people probably feel that way. Yeah, I think that would be sort of a strong way of kind of classifying this. I didn't feel it was a robbery. I just felt it was
yeah,
a close fight, and I had it a draw, but it
yeah,
was close
clean
enough. And
robbery.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
kind of
not
comes down
clean.
to what you favor. If you're a
Yeah,
judge, it just comes down to what you favor.
that's I mean, like the same guys that are saying that Antonio Tarver got robbed in the first fight against Roy Jones. I didn't see that. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I've seen that fight countless times and scored it, and each time I scored it, I cannot see anything but Roy Jones winning by at least 2 points, right? So it was
yep,
just because Tarver had those big moments with those combinations against the ropes.
yeah.
So people just see that, like who really like looked flashier. So
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you there. Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations.
yeah,
So yeah, we'll see what happens, but yeah, rematch is certainly in order. But just
yeah,
did wonders for the landscape of the females, and I want to shout out Franchon-Dezurn Cruz, who is a fighter at the 168-pound division for the females, and she became the undisputed super middleweight champion last night, and she defeated
All right.
a fighter out of Sweden. Can't remember her name, but she was out of Sweden, and she's
Mm,
actually her
yeah.
Sedero. She
Yeah.
was undefeated as well,
All right.
and Crews, she came in and did her thing. She really
Mm,
lived up to the hype, and I think that she deserves not. She's gotten better and better over the years, and I think that she's going to continue to be a mainstay and player in the
yeah.
sport of boxing in this division. And she
Mm,
could potentially face Clarissa Shields again, and that was mentioned during the broadcast. And they faced each other in the pro debuts for each, and both of them have faced each other on multiple occasions in the amateurs. So I think that would make for a pretty good matchup because I think it's a good style clash for sure.
yeah. Yeah. So
Hello,
there is
Facebook
another.
user. Thank you.
Hello, Facebook user. A
Yeah, I
very,
think I know who
very
that is. Maybe my
creative
mother.
kind of nickname. Yeah.
Rodolfo
Rodolfo.
Rivera. Welcome, Rodolfo. Thank you for joining
Hola.
in. Yeah,
Hola.
appreciate you stopping in here. Rodolfo, hey, he's good to go.
Mm,
Um, and
solid
he's been in
guy.
that mix with the boxing stuff as well. So definitely appreciate you dropping by, Rodolfo. Uh, yeah, but good stuff indeed. So yeah, we talked about that. The other big marquee fight from last night was Shakur Stevenson
Mm,
versus Oscar
yeah.
Valdez, and this was pitting two of the top 130 pounders together for a unification fight. And
Mm,
I've been fond of both Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson.
yeah.
Yeah, I like Valdez, and I think that he's got grit, and he's shown in the past that
Mm,
he's overcome some of those situations where he might have been counted out in the past. And coming into this, and I posted it before the fight started. But I felt that Shakur Stevenson was going to get a unanimous decision victory over Oscar Valdez, and
yeah.
I view Stevenson as the top of the young crop of fighters out there with the likes of Tank Davis, Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and all of them who are
Mm,
in or around that lightweight limit, or I
yeah.
guess you can say. I view Shakur Stevenson as the top guy right there, and I feel like he's the type that will rise to the occasion of the fight and in a major way because this was a thorough outboxing of Oscar Valdez to the point
Mm,
where you just wonder like he
so
made the
impressive.
Valdez look very ordinary, and it's like,
Yeah.
how did he get a title? But I think it's just that's how good Shakur Stevenson is. His ceiling is
Yeah.
very high, but it was not close whatsoever. And Shakur Stevenson showed that, hey, he's a step above anyone at 130 pounds right now, without a doubt. So we'll
Mm,
see what's in store for him as he moves up. But I know he's intending to become undisputed at 130. I think him and Navarrete would be a good fight, but
yeah.
Navarrete is at 126 still, I believe. But
All
yeah,
right.
he just showed that he's a level above, and I think he would outpunt Navarrete because his boxing skills and IQ is just on an elite
Mm,
level, and
yeah.
it's hard to even explain. He just dominated in a way that was unexpected. Well,
Yeah.
maybe expected by some, but
Was
I think many probably at least thought Oscar Valdez would put up somewhat of a fight, which I didn't feel that he did anything of significance in the fight at all.
no. I only, yeah, I mean, that's obvious. Stevenson is an elite level, that definitely. And the way he beat Jamel, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, who is very, very solid, but
Yes.
this guy is just a whole different class, and he was just so dominant also in that fight. Yeah, I didn't really expect it, to be honest, to be him to be so dominant against Herring, as he
Yeah.
was, and now he's also being very dominant against Valdez. So what's next? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something you can ask yourself. Sky is the limit, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that this was certainly eye-opening. I don't know that Josh Warrington is going to want this fight now for sure after seeing this. I know
Yeah.
that's who Stevenson has wanted as well for a good while, but
Well, I
Yeah,
think
it was
Warrington,
just
he would get,
domination.
yeah, he would get destroyed probably.
And the
I don't
problem with
see.
Warrington is he doesn't have enough pop to probably
Yeah.
gain Shakur's respect from a punching standpoint.
Mm,
Um, but he does have some grit about him, but that luster has kind of gone down a little bit.
mm,
Rodolfo Rivera, yeah, that was Shakur's first lineal title. Hopefully not his last. Yeah, I'm with you, Rodolfo. Hey, hopefully not his last. And I think he has the makeup and mindset of a person who is going to continue to push himself. He's already talking about what's next, and he's willing to face anyone, and I believe it. He's willing to take on any of these guys that are out there, and he seems to have a true joy. My girlfriend and I were talking about this. He seems to have a true joy for the sport. You can see that it's fun for him, and he's having a
mm.
good time in the ring. And I think as long as you're in that type of stride or mode, then it's going to be tough for anyone who isn't 100% dedicated and focused to be able to defeat
Yeah.
Shakur Stevenson, at least at this particular stage.
I don't see anybody at 130 right now anyway, so I don't know who else is out there. We had, well, Berchelt is done obviously now, so
Yeah,
uh,
he's done.
who else is out there at
Yeah,
130?
130. So of
Maybe
course we
have
mentioned
to.
Warrington. Uh,
Yeah, he's now. Yeah, that's right. He's at
yeah,
one.
he's there now, and he got that belt from Kiko Martinez. But I think Shakur
Well,
Stevenson would handle both of them.
yeah, we
Um,
can forget about him
yeah,
as a
definitely.
serious contender, and we too.
Yeah,
We got,
and it.
yeah, wait, yeah. Well, there aren't really anybody. I don't see
Mm-hmm,
anybody. This guy Rahimov from Tajikistan. He's
mm.
undefeated. Shavkat John, Kenichi Ogawa. Yeah, there really aren't.
Ogawa is pretty decent. But yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know that he would be able to defeat Shakur.
John
Yeah,
Otero, Zelfa Barrett. Yeah, it's pretty much not really. I mean, outstanding names here that I can see.
yeah, I don't think Zelfa Barrett is ready.
Yeah,
Or well, I just don't think he would defeat
Zelfa.
Shakur.
Yeah,
He's decent. Yeah, I'm looking at the ratings that Ring has. I don't see anything standing in the way.
Chris
In theory, at
Colbert.
least, of him actually becoming undisputed, assuming he can. All those guys agree to take him on. Yeah, I think
Well,
he's lined up well.
Chris Colbert used to be promising, but now he lost to some
Yeah, there
unknown
was a lot
guy.
of back and forth between the two of them, or indeed just fans of each. But I didn't buy into the Chris Colbert hype. I thought he looked decent, but he hadn't really fought anyone, and I
Right.
didn't. And I always felt that Shakur Stevenson was a better fighter just all around. Colbert, he relies a lot on his athleticism, and he has a flashier style, I would say, but I didn't view
Mm,
him as being on the level of Shakur. Definitely not at this stage, as far as where they both are. Both are young fighters, but yeah, I
yeah.
think it was a rude awakening for Colbert in his last fight. I forget who he was facing, but I did watch the fight, and I thought
Mm,
at times in there he looked a bit lost and didn't know what to do. And I think that only is going to increase as he moves up and face tougher fighters. And it's going to depend on what he does, how he comes back from this first loss of
mm,
his career. He seemed to be okay in the aftermath when doing the interview, but he did definitely have some trouble in that fight. And so where he ends up, I think he may have a play for doing something what Shakur Stevenson leaves 130.
mm.
But yeah, he's going to have to build himself back up a bit.
Well, this guy Rakimo, he looks kind of decent. He had a draw against Joseph Diaz, and before that,
Yeah.
he stopped like a few the guys that were good anyway. Robinson, Castellanos,
Okay. Yeah.
Durant,
Yeah,
Malcolm
yeah, I feel
Classic.
I've seen him. Yeah, Rakimov. So yeah, he might be a pretty
He's
decent
a
test.
tall guy for that division. Pretty tall. Yeah,
Yeah, he might be a pretty decent test for sure. And you mentioned
yeah,
Agawa, who has the IBF title, so that may be who he goes for.
yeah.
to try and get the title or to try to become undisputed, maybe Kenichi Ogawa is a fight that we actually see.
Yeah,
Rodolfo
maybe.
mentioned Shakur did say he wants to become undisputed at 130, and I say he does it easily. Yeah, it looks like that for sure right now. Certainly looks like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think he does it easily. Yeah, unless somebody new should appear suddenly, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, Robson Conceição, who fought Oscar
Yeah,
Valdez last time around,
that was
I think he's okay, but
yeah,
yeah, I just don't
a
think
tough
that.
guy. Yeah, just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. He has moments in fights, but yeah, I think Shakur handles him as well.
yeah, he will.
So
I mean, until he moves up to 135, I don't think anybody can really like has a realistic chance to beat him. Really.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think I'm with you there. Um, and of course it'll be cool to see, if he does that. I know he mentioned if he doesn't get the fights that he wants, then he seems to be willing to move up. So maybe we get that or some of
that's
those
true.
matchups sooner than later.
Yeah, well, then 135 will really become epic, like really epic.
Yes,
I
yes,
mean,
yes. So Tiafimo, I believe, has gone up to 140, so he's out of the mix for the
yeah,
time being. But you still have the likes of Tank Davis, you have Ryan Garcia, you
Kambosos.
have Devin Haney, Cambosos. So that's going to be telling in terms of who wins this Haney Cambosos fight,
Yeah.
which I view it as a probably 50-50 fight in some sense.
Mm,
50-50 fight. It's hard to say who is going to win, but I think it's a pretty good matchup stylistically, and
yeah,
I'm
draw.
looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that's right. You got Isaac Cruz also, who is pretty
Oh yeah,
good.
Isaac Cruz.
Mm,
Yeah, he is out there. I got into it with some Isaac Cruz fans on Twitter during his fight with Gamboa uh,
yeah,
because they were giving him credit, and I was just like, for what? What does he
that
deserve
was a
credit for?
slaughter. Yeah, that was simply a slaughter more than a
Yeah,
fight.
and that's what I was thinking as well. I mean, yeah, hopefully Gamboa hangs it up. But yeah, Isaac Cruz, I would say he is a player. I do like him. I like his style, and he seems to be the type that'll really get in there and
Yeah,
batten down the hatches and throw and trade and exchange if he needs to. And I think
he's
that would make for some interesting fights.
so far the only guy who has really given Tank Davis a true fight. So put it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, and and I will say that I didn't expect it. I thought that Tank's power would be a bit too much for him because he was coming up in weight, of course.
Yeah,
But he did the hype. I wonder how that fight would go. If they were to rematch, because I just think it was very interesting. I did favor Tank, and but I got to give him his credit, Isaac his credit.
yeah. He's definitely a really like strong fighter and of course tough,
Mhm.
aggressive, typical Mexican fighter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
indeed.
sometimes first time it can be a little bit maybe if you don't know that your opponent well enough or you didn't have the best night, then you don't really perform as good as usual. But then the second time, usually you do better. In a
Yeah,
rematch.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I think it would certainly be interesting to see what they look like in a rematch. Hopefully,
yeah,
Tank remains active here for this year because maybe we could see him get in another two or three fights. Maybe two
yeah.
fights since he's already had one. But he's taking on Romero, Rolly Romero, which
Oh,
should
yeah.
be interesting. It's interesting back and forth. I like the back and forth that they have. But
That was
but I
yeah.
think that Rolly hasn't. I felt Rolly lost when he took on this guy's last
Rolly,
name was Martinez, right, or something like that.
Rolly Romero. Yeah,
He fought this guy. I feel like his last name. I'm gonna have to look him up. It was Martinez, but it was one of these guys that many felt that he was robbed, and I felt the same way. To be honest with you, when he took on
Rolando. Yeah,
Rolly.
that's right. His name is Rolando. Yeah, he
Yeah,
and
Rolando.
he's still undefeated, but yeah,
Yeah, so the fight that I'm talking about is Jackson Marinez. So I said Martinez, but
Martinez.
Jackson
Oh yeah,
Marinez.
Yeah, I
That
found.
fight, many felt that Marinez deserved the nod in that fight. I felt the same way. Romero, he was basically just loading up on punches the entire night. He was given
Very
the
uneven
decision.
scorecards. Yeah.
He was given the decision, but many felt that Marinez deserved that decision. And of course, Marinez in his next fight, he did face Richard Comey and lost. It was definitive. Richard Comey really
Oh
gave it
yeah,
to him, stopped him.
yeah,
But
that's right.
Marinez is still pretty solid all around. But yeah, I think that's what's going to prove to be sort of the downfall of Romero,
Yes,
because
yeah, he's
he's in love
the
with his
root.
power for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right.
But
And
when
that's
he's
not
in there
good.
with a
That's
guy who
not.
can box, that's tough sledding for him.
Yeah, some
Uh,
people. Yeah,
Rodolfo, I would have preferred a rematch against Isaac Cruz any day over Rolly fight. Yeah, which I think that's that whole Mayweather promotions thing. Since that's all the same stable, they've worked it in this way. But I'm in agreement with you. Romero is now, he's getting the title shot. There's some other 135 pounders who probably should have been in that mix as well. But hey, it's that Mayweather promotions thing. So it is pretty interesting that they went with that. But we'll see. I think that Romero has a high chance of getting stopped in this fight. I don't know if he's really been tapped up by someone with the type of power that Tank has. So I think it's going to be
yeah.
interesting for sure.
But yeah, the guy who last stopped Berchelt, Jeremiah Nakatila, that's the one. Yeah,
Oh yeah, Nakatila. And
yeah,
Shakur Stevenson beat Nakatila. You basically
yeah.
thoroughly outboxed him as well. And this was when they were complaining. A lot of people were complaining because Shakur, he played it safe in that fight with Nakatila, but he thoroughly outboxed him,
Yeah,
in my
yeah, it's
opinion,
so
and many
scary.
others as well.
Hmm.
Hey, welcome Vinny. Shout out to Vinny, knowledgeable individual right here. Vinny 66. Shakur also has the ability to control the energy of his opponents. Every time Valdez got into the offensive zone, he was quickly diffused or left punching at nothing. Yes, and that was very glaring through this fight. Then, and that's kind of what I stem back to as far as Shakur made Valdez look very ordinary in that fight.
Hmm.
And some may have argued, hey, Valdez, he's an explosive puncher, so he kind of loads up on his power, not in the sense that he is stagnant necessarily, but he puts so much into nearly every punch that
Yeah,
he throws that when he misses, it's a glaring miss. And he was glaringly missing Shakur Stevenson all night. And of course that I think didn't work in his favor. And it's not a good look for him as far as seeing him potentially matched up with another like pure boxer, someone who isn't necessarily tailor made for him style wise, but someone who is purely on
yeah,
the boxing front, one of those guys that relies on their fundamental skills. And I think that is essentially the thing that has shown to be what is shown to be an issue for Oscar Valdez moving forward.
yeah. I forgot what I was I wanted to say now. Oh yeah, that's right.
Mm,
Well, there's if you look at his previous opponents, he didn't really fight that many guys that were like slick, and
yeah,
technically sound like Shakur. So he mostly fought those guys who are like offensive and just warriors like he is, and
yeah. And
he
it's made for
just
exciting fights. It made for
yeah
exciting fights. I would say he's an exciting guy. I've been fond of him for a good period of time because I always liked his style. And I was actually
yeah
in Arizona back in, I think it was 2017, or maybe not 2017. It was 2018 or something like that. Maybe it was 2017. I can remember, but he fought Genesis Cervania,
oh
and
yeah it's,
that was a good fight. That was a very
he's
good
a
fight, especially
really
seeing it live.
yeah
And
explosive
Genesis really
fighter.
gave him the work.
Yeah, yeah, I remember watching Slovenia sorry live once. Really, really explosive, entertaining fighter. Yeah,
Yeah, so
he's
I would say that was definitely a very exciting one for him there when he took on
yeah
Sylvania. And But I think that Valdez, he's gonna have to think about what the right move is for him next.
Mm,
I don't know that it gets any better for him moving up to 135, especially if he wants to get a title, which he says he wants to work back towards getting another title. I don't
yeah.
know that that's in play at 135. So in all likelihood, he may end up ultimately staying at 130, and then the potential that if Shakur Stevenson actually unifies, or not unifies, but becomes undisputed, then
Mm,
maybe he'll vacate immediately thereafter. He may
yeah.
not defend them, and then that'll leave the belts pretty much out there for the taking.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it depends now also if who wins this fight between Cambosos and Haney. He will like be the man to beat in the at
Yeah,
135. So
yeah,
I believe,
rightfully so.
yeah.
Rightfully so.
So that's the guy who Stevenson will likely be. I mean, hunting to put to
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, rightfully so. And as far as I'm concerned, right now, I do view Cambosos as the number one 135 pounder in the world. I thought the way
Mm,
he showed grit in that Teofimo Lopez fight, it just showed that,
yeah.
hey, he is actually skilled, he's actually tough, and on the offensive side, he can be a problem for anyone at that weight. So I view him as the number
Yeah.
one guy right now for sure.
Even though Box Track curiously ranked him at number 5 for some reason, they
Oh
are
wow,
just their rankings have always been really hopeless. I
who do
don't
they
know.
have in front of him?
They have even low. I mean, they have Lomachenko, Haney,
Oh, okay,
Teofimo, who's not even in the division anymore, and
yeah.
Gervonta at number 1. So
Mm, interesting.
yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think
he's
I'd have to move Cambosos up just given what he's done. I feel like
yeah.
he's the number one guy right now. And but hey, I think may use some kind of algorithm because some of their
Mm,
rankings are a bit funky, especially those pound for pound all time rankings. They're a bit
yeah.
funky.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I don't know. They have a special system, I think, they
Yeah.
use to rate them. They don't really do it like by you using this one. They just have a special
Yeah.
like, yeah, like I don't
Yeah,
get.
I think that the best ranking or ranker, in my opinion, is there's a guy on YouTube is by the name of Boxing Librarian. Shout out to Boxing Librarian, but I look at a lot of his stuff. He has a system. I don't know the intricate details of it, but it takes into account the fighter's resume, what they've done as far as the number of Hall of Famers they face, the number of
Yeah.
titleists they face, pound for pound fighters, etc. It takes all of that into account, and I really think
Mm,
it's probably one of the better ways to go about ranking fighters because you do have to take that stuff into account, especially when you're
mm,
factoring in fighters of the past who many don't necessarily, or they may not have necessarily seen their fights, but they just know of them by name. I think if you really
yeah.
dissect some of those older fighters, you'll see that if you look at the level of competition that they were facing at that
Yeah.
particular time and area, and if you do it based on the rankings and all of that stuff, then a lot of these guys were in a place that some of these modern guys haven't been and
Yeah.
probably won't be with the amount of individuals they had faced. You do have the likes of Pacquiao, Mayweather, those two come to mind who were facing like the number one guys and all that stuff at varying times.
Yeah.
And then some others as well. But yeah, I think that is the most subjective way of going about it. This ranking from the boxing librarian. So for those listening,
Yeah.
I would
No.
recommend checking out his page.
Yeah. I know. Definitely. I mean, you got fighters, for instance, like those older fighters like Jimmy Bivens, for instance, like he
Mm-hmm.
beat Ezra Charles and Archie Moore, and all those guys. But who knows of him? Who has
Yeah,
heard of him? Like almost
yeah,
nobody, because he never. I think it was because of the war. They never received a world title shot, something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. He's a part of Black Murderers Row, where a lot of those guys didn't get a shot. Some of
All
them
right.
were just blatantly ducked, or the people doing the
Yeah.
rankings at the time didn't include them in there. Charlie Burley is one of them. Did a
Oh,
post
yeah.
about
Right.
him. But yeah,
I
these
think
guys were
he.
fighting each other
Yeah, I
tons of
think
pounds.
Bivens beat Burley also, but that
Yeah,
was
I believe he did.
early on. Yeah, early.
But yeah, you had a whole crop of those guys that were out there like that. Um, yeah, Rodolfo Rivera. Yeah, BL even made his own custom pound for pound list all the way from 1890. Yep. So yeah, this
Wow,
is true. So this is the
that's a
boxing
lot of work.
librarian. Yeah, it is. It is. He puts that work in. I must say he does. So it's a lot that goes into it.
Props.
And
Yeah.
I think it's the best way, most subjective way of going about ranking. I would like to see it adopted on a grander scale.
Mm.
The powers that be in
Yeah,
boxing, I would like to see it adopted on a grander scale by them. But that's of course,
that's not gonna happen.
yeah, it's probably not an easy route, of course. I would
Yeah.
say that some of the historic stuff, we have individuals on YouTube. A lot of these guys, like BL, others, Scrapbook Boxing, Random Acoustic Thoughts is one of them, who
Mhm.
are going about the process of trying to push out more of this information on these boxers of the past. And it's something, that I'm pretty keen on. And I think it's a great benefit, and it for at least puts a mark there in the world of YouTube, which is a top platform for individuals to come gain knowledge and insight on some of these fighters
Yeah.
if they seek it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to do. I mean, with those threads that I make, history threads at the KO Boxing Forum to put out their name out there.
Yeah.
uh, I've been making a lot of those threads about fighters that I've discovered that very few have heard of, but they really did have they did achieve something, like,
Hmm.
but that became forgotten after a while, by the public and by the
Yeah.
boxing writers even. So yeah,
Yeah. And sometimes, boxing fans today become prisoners of the moment, which I think would probably happens in every era, but they become prisoners of the moment and they view certain things in a certain way. Like for instance, I know a
yeah,
lot of stuff has been floating around out there right now of Tyson Fury being the greatest heavyweight of all time. And I think that is somewhat prisoner of the moment type of
yeah.
thinking.
That's an overstatement, simply. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Tyson and all that stuff,
I
but
mean, yeah, you can argue that he is in the mix or may be discussed, among
yeah,
those the best. But I mean, who has he beaten? Deontay Wilder and now that guy Dillian White, who you know
yeah,
probably was really elite level fighter. But yeah,
yeah,
I like Fury also. I don't get me wrong, but I mean,
but yeah.
he hasn't done enough simply to be.
Yep, agree. And
Yeah,
that was the same case with Wilder as far as when he had that WBC
yeah,
belt, and they were making that comparison about how long he's had the belt by comparison to how long Muhammad
yeah.
Ali, for instance, was
He was beating like
uh,
tomato cans mostly.
yeah, basically his
Yeah,
best win was Ortiz,
yeah,
and that was by a long shot,
and that
because all
was
the other
like,
guys.
yeah, in the first fight, he kind of got help from the referee because he was in
Yep.
trouble, as I remember, in eighth round or something. And then the referee just came in and stopped, paused the fight for no reason at all. I was like, "What's going on? What is he doing? Come on!" And
Yeah,
then
always some
just
craziness going on in
yeah,
these situations. Always some pretty crazy stuff going on.
yeah. So that kind of, yeah, they just, it was obvious they were on his side. So yeah, working
Yeah.
for
So another thing I had put down was Liam Smith took on Jesse Vargas in a fight that seemed to be about two plus years in the making, because I know they've been
yeah,
talking about it for a while. And
beefy.
yeah, beefy, and it turned out to be a pretty decent contest. Vargas was stopped for the first time in this contest, and and it was in the 10th round. Actually, it was a good
Yeah, that
stoppage
was
because he was taking
very
a lot of
impressive.
damage.
Yeah, that was. I didn't really expect that, even though I kind of leaned towards Liam, because also Vargas has been away from the ring for 2 years, and
Yeah,
yeah, and then that simply it seems to be, yeah, this fight seemed to come too soon simply for him.
yeah, and I
So
think that layoff showed, and then him being at 154 pounds. This was his first fight at 154
yeah,
pounds,
oh,
and
was it? Hmm.
yeah, he doesn't have that type of pop or whatever
Yeah, that's right.
to really
Yeah, I mean,
do
he
things.
had some pop at 147, obviously, because
Yeah.
yeah, he did stop like Saddam Ali and Humberto Soto, but
Oh yeah,
as much as that
Humberto.
sport.
Hey, he was he's a battle tested fighter for sure, Humberto.
Yeah, but so Soto was kind of getting on in age, I think, and
Yes,
that
yes,
was
definitely.
very long, and yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
definitely
anyway,
that
yeah,
much too.
I think it was very impressive still for him to win like
Hmm.
this, because he's never been a really big, huge puncher either. He's more
Yeah,
like, yeah, a guy who's aggressive and just throws a lot, and yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I agree. So yeah,
mm.
we'll see what he does. He's actually running for some type of congressional seat in Las Vegas, so that's a part of it as well. So
Wow,
I think yeah,
that's
he's kind of one
wow.
foot in, 1 foot out in a sense.
Liam Smith, wow.
Yeah,
Wise.
Liam. Yeah, Liam. Hey, I got to give Liam Smith props. He's looking good. It looks like he's gotten better. I actually thought
Yeah.
that Anthony Fowler would defeat him in his last fight, but he really handled Anthony
Mm,
Fowler with not much problems at all. So I think Liam
yeah.
Smith is probably better, definitely better now than when he faced Canelo the first time around.
Yeah.
And hey, we'll see
Yeah, that
what's
was
in store for him.
yeah, he was just too young back then in that fight. I mean, yeah, he was holding that title of WBO, but he hadn't really fought anyone that was worth much before Canelo, so that also came too soon for him that fight, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And now he's on a little streak. So we'll see if he is able to work his way into a title shot of some type. I think a
Mm,
lot of that, of course, is going to depend on this Jamel Charlo, Brian Castano rematch.
that's right. That's
And
the
then
big one.
probably some mandatory stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think he will probably receive some kind of world title shot. I hope so. He does.
Yeah,
I think he deserves it because yeah,
yeah,
he has
yeah.
lost. Yeah, he has lost several times, but he never gave up. And he
And what you like to see is fighters improving, and I think he's
yeah.
definitely improved. You know.
Yeah, and he knew. I think he pretty much knew that he would. The only way he would surely win that fight was by stoppage. Because if he had went the distance, who knows? With those judges in Vegas, or
Yeah,
this was in New York, maybe I don't know.
yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
matter.
New York. Yeah, this was New York, but yeah, still same
Still, yeah,
situation. Yeah,
still there's a lot of corruption going on. As you know, we have talked about that before.
good stuff. But yeah, Rodolfo, I actually predicted Liam Smith by 10th round stoppage in a prediction lead, which gave me some good points. Good stuff there, Rodolfo. Good stuff.
Good for you.
Yeah, hey, it's spot on with it. Yeah,
It was
I
like
didn't
when
yeah, I wasn't
I
sure, but
kind of yeah I predicted. Just want to say this: the exact stoppage when Carl Frampton stopped Kiko Martinez because nobody
okay.
expected that. Because Kiko hadn't been stopped and before, but I kind of put down TKO 9. Let's say TKO 9. I didn't know, of course, that he was gonna do that. So that happened,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
that's amazing. Like
Hey,
yeah,
yeah, sometimes it's like that. It just always feels good when you get the prediction right. I know
yeah,
definitely for myself with the amount I miss, it's definitely good to get a couple of them right here and there.
yeah.
I would say.
That's why I eventually left those prediction leagues. I just couldn't handle being wrong so often.
Yeah, I do that on Twitter. You go look at some of my tweets. They don't age well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes. Oh,
Miter
minus
Span,
band.
welcome,
Hello.
welcome, Miter Span. Hey, appreciate you jumping in, buddy. Great to still see fighters who know the sweet science. Boxing isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I agree. Yeah, the notion of boxing dying and all of this stuff that is going to continue to float around
Yeah,
for
that's
years to come. But yeah, it's
nonsense.
not going anywhere.
Yeah. That's just nonsense. No.
Yeah, if it was going somewhere, these networks wouldn't shell out money.
I'd say even boxing is more alive now than like 10 years ago it was actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think these streaming platforms have done wonders and changed the dynamic a bit. So I'm with you there
Yeah.
for sure.
There was so much, disappointing stuff going on. I remember like 2011, 2012, a lot of cancellations and fights not
Yeah,
happening. And,
yeah. There was a
uh,
lull. There was definitely a lull, and then in the midst of that, I would say probably about 2016 is when it started to pick back up in a more of a
yeah.
major way because we started getting matchups that needed to happen and should have happened, like the likes
Mm,
of Thurman versus Porter.
yeah.
You saw stuff like that. You saw Errol Spence against Kell Brook, etc.
Mm,
So I think that
2017,
helped to start to build. I think that started helped to start to build things back up because there was a little lull there, especially
yeah.
all
There
of those
was,
years of us not getting Mayweather versus Pacquiao, and
yeah.
that played into some of the sort of negative thoughts around boxing as well.
Yeah, I know I was really like frustrated. And then there you had those champions like Devon Alexander, for instance, they wouldn't
Oh yeah,
risk anything. They would just go in the ring and just make everyone fall asleep, while they were
yep,
fighting, like, like,
yeah. Oh
just
Devin,
jabbing a little bit.
it was always the little fighters who were bringing it, but they weren't getting
Yeah,
any attention.
yeah, that's right.
It was the little fighters. Vinny 66, Fury is the best of a watered down era. He would be competitive but not dominant in the pre MMA decades. Yeah, I agree. I agree. A lot of people factor in his size, but I was on a thing with Boxing Librarian. I think he made some good points as well that
Yeah,
Fury had trouble with the likes of, say, Steve Cunningham, who was about 6'3", was
yeah,
really a blown up
was,
heavyweight in some instances. And Fury, he was still kind of developing himself in that time frame. But a lot of the guys trained for bigger guys. The
yeah.
likes of Tyson and stuff. Of course, he was always gonna be the shorter fighter in pretty much every fight. So that didn't stop him from doing what he did.
Yeah, he's so big that I think before he would have been outboxed by those best guys like, let's say Holyfield or
Yeah.
who else was there? Lewis, even Lewis, who is a little bit bigger but still not so huge anyway. Lewis
Mm-hmm.
Holyfield, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Chris Bird would have been too small, maybe, but anyway, he
Yeah.
could have won like that.
Yeah.
Chagayev, no, yeah,
stylistically, Chris Bird had the skills to potentially
yeah,
outbox him, but size wise, yeah, I think that would have been the primary factor.
that would have been just really, wow, like a circus fight almost.
Yeah, a year or so ago, Chris Bird was talking about coming back at middleweight. Here at 50 something years of age, he looked good. He's in shape, but I guess it kind of
Yeah,
died down.
maybe for one fight, I think it's all right. Like when Virgil Hill came back for one fight only, that's all, and he
Oh
won.
yeah, yeah,
An
Virgil Hill. Yeah,
easy
we get
fight,
those every now and then.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
Razor Ruddock, well, he had like three fights, and he
yeah,
came back.
yeah. These guys are gonna have to chill out with that kind of comeback
Yeah.
stuff. Shout out Melissa Ty. Appreciate you dropping in. Appreciate you
Oh,
dropping
nice.
in. Hello, hello. That's funny.
And
Got to
you
laughing again.
heard, maybe you heard about Mike Tyson wanting to fight Jake Paul. That was pretty hilarious. That,
Yeah. They were throwing that stuff out there, or at least Logan. I think it was Logan Paul. They were talking about
Oh yeah,
him taking on that brother. But yeah, I think Tyson would have given him that work even at this age, and
yeah,
Tyson
but
was
it's
like, "Nah, I'm
like
not gonna do it." He's I don't think he's doing anything with Triller anymore. That's where it was gonna be. But Triller, they have come in. I guess they got a lot of financial backing because they come in with some of these kind of crazy mashup cards or whatever, and it seemed cool at first, but yeah, some of them as of
yeah,
late have been kind of out there in a sense,
yeah, it's
and
starting to get just too cartoonish, too outlandish.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they have to load them with real fights, I think, if they want to pull in the true
I
boxing
think
fan.
Jake Paul could win only if he just stayed away from Tyson the whole time. If he just jabbed from the outside, because he is younger, so he's got better stamina and faster, But if he tried to, punch him, he will get knocked out, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, Melissa, you're right. Tyson does still have hands. He does. He does.
obviously, he
There's
proved
no
that
doubt about it.
recently. He proved that on an airplane just recently.
That was light work right there. Definitely light work. Minor span coming in every day, nowhere near over for this sport. Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Uh, Then Vinny, we need networks to broadcast up and coming fighters again on weekends. Hey, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that Showbox, the new generation, is probably the best platform right now, at least as far as how they showcase these up and coming guys who don't have that big name yet. They've always done pretty good with their matchups, their matchmaking, I believe, and that has proved to showcase some really good guys who ended up becoming mainstays or true players in the sport. So I like what they do there, and I'd like to definitely see more Showbox the Generation shows for sure. And I missed the ESPN Friday Night Fights, which was sort of the same type
Yeah,
of breeding ground for some of these up and coming guys.
Friday night fights, Tuesday night fights.
Yeah. Then they had
Yeah,
some Tuesdays and some Wednesdays and all that stuff.
yeah, Wednesday also.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
why
those were
not?
good. The format has
Mm,
kind of changed now, of course, and with ESPN doing the deal with Top Rank, we get more of that. So you're getting legitimate stuff. And
mm,
they do put some of the up and comers on there and all that stuff. So I think it's been a slight shift, but still strides being made. There are a lot of top caliber prospects that are out there, and it's always good to get them an opportunity to get some shine as we think towards building the star of the future.
mm. Yeah, I think the zone has changed so much, so yeah,
Yeah, and I like the zone. I think for the overall production, I really do. I'm fond of the
yeah,
zone.
it's
Uh,
really generous. I mean, I mean, if you compare their prices with HBO and Showtime, it's really, wow, it's another world, just
Yeah,
another
yeah,
world.
definitely.
Yeah,
They I know when they first came out, the intent was not to do a pay-per-view, but it looks like this upcoming Canelo versus Bivol fight is going to be a DAZN pay-per-view. And even if you
yeah,
are a subscriber, say for instance, like I'm a subscriber, it looks like it's going to be a pay-per-view for everyone, subscribers
yeah,
included, from what it looks like.
yeah. But I think it's good to have a channel that's just for boxing because, like me, I really don't want to watch that many. Don't like watching so many sports, so I don't want to have to pay for a sports channel because I only want to watch boxing. But that's what
Yeah.
you had to do before. So pretty much,
Yeah, it kind of turned into that. I've talked to we talk about this all the time in terms of I know here me and my girlfriend, for instance, and others. The fact that we ditched cable a long time ago, probably back in 2011, 2012 time frame.
yeah.
So now with all of the streaming platforms that are out there, it's kind of added back up to
Why not?
like you're having cable or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's
The
interesting.
prices were just too much, outrageous.
Yeah, so I ended up having to get so the Zone, Showtime, and then
Yeah,
you have some other
here's
ones out there that show some things, ESPN
yeah,
Plus, so I had to get them all to be able to watch boxing. But yeah, it is pretty
yeah,
crazy, and like to see some more of these cross promotional matchups. That has always been a
mm,
thing that has kind of hindered some good fights from being made as well. But they do it for
yeah.
certain fighters or whatever. I think if the fighters really wanted it, they could get them to make it happen, I would say. But hey, if you're getting
Mhm.
uh, proper payday by fighting the guys from your stable, then yeah, why go through the trouble, right? That seems to
Right.
be the mentality, at least.
Mhm. That's
Vinny, Vinny 66. I personally watched Mike Tyson destroy sparring. I was thinking, good stuff, Vinny. Yeah, I know you mentioned you used to box.
thank
That is good
you.
stuff indeed. I bet that was cool to see. We'll get these sort of sparring
Yeah.
videos that crop up of Tyson. There are a lot of them out there. You could just see that he was intense. He was intense even in sparring, as you mentioned. I could imagine. I can
Yeah.
only imagine getting in there trying to spar with this guy because it looked like he didn't hold back.
I just thought about how many people claim to have knocked him down in sparring. That's pretty ridiculous. It
Yeah,
was like
hey,
almost everybody who ever sparred with Mike Tyson, they knocked him down. Like, come on, how is that possible?
yeah, hey, yeah. Maybe that's sort of like the battle, but ultimately Tyson seems to have won the war.
Yeah. Even
That's
if
what I
you
would
have
say.
knocked him down once, then it doesn't mean you knocked him out, right?
It would be Melissa Ty. It would be interesting to see Amazon or Netflix take up boxing. You make a great point. You make a great point. That could potentially
Maybe
happen.
Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. They
I don't
bought the
think
rights.
Netflix will want to do that.
But Amazon, they bought the rights to I want
Yeah,
to say Thursday night football, so it's going to be an Amazon Prime thing. And I
yeah,
know
they are
football is more
really
so big here in America, but
branching out, really.
yeah, yeah. So I could see them, getting more into the sports side of things. So
Hmm.
that may be something that becomes more of a possibility as we move forward. Even Netflix, because the things I've been seeing as of late, as it relates to Netflix, is them losing a ton of subscribers, and they're really taking a
Yeah.
hit as far as their overall value or valuation or whatever it may be.
Hmm.
And hey, I could see a potential for the likes of Netflix taking on some sporting stuff. I think that
I
could be a
mean,
change that boosts them back somewhat.
yeah, and yeah, if you think about it, when they released that documentary, The Last Dance, that was a huge hit. Everybody
Oh yeah,
was talking about it, like about the Bulls and Jordan, and so
yeah.
there you go.
And that was I think that was it. Was that ESPN's production?
Yeah, probably,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
I'm not
And then I
sure.
know they share the rights and all of that stuff and it floats around. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think that is pretty interesting. I know Hulu, another platform out there, they have live sports in some capacity. I don't
I think.
necessarily
Yeah,
subscribe to it. I do have like one of those like basic accounts.
I remember. This woman that I know. She's like, well, you might say family, but not really family. But anyway, she's like very like a bookish type. But she had watched that show, and she comes to me once and, have you seen that show about Michael Jackson? I was like, no, you mean Michael Jordan? Yeah, that's right. He was like very excited about talking about it. Oh,
Yeah,
it's so great.
MJ.
Yeah,
That is funny. Michael Jackson, those MJs.
yeah,
Vinny
he's
66, Marv
airless.
Albert's reaction to seeing Salvador Sanchez for the first time was proof of the impact of network exposure. Yeah, hey, hey, you're right in that regard. I don't know which
So,
fight that was. I'm familiar with Salvador. I like him. I think stylistically, he's a hell of a fighter. And of course, I saw him with. I've seen his fight with both the Zuma Nelson and
oh yeah, yeah, classic.
Wilfredo Gomez.
Gomez, Bazooka, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those two. So if it was one of those fights, then heck yeah, I think that definitely is like a plus, a plus as far as networks taking on fights such as that or fighters like that who are building up something
Yeah.
special. And Salvador, he was a special fighter without a doubt. Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunate, he didn't get to
such a
advance in his
tragedy.
career further because of
Yeah,
the unfortunate. plane crash or something like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, he
or
was
it
a great
was
fighter.
maybe, yeah, it doesn't matter. Traffic accident, I think.
Or a traffic accident. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, he was a hell of a fighter without a doubt. One
really
of the best
was.
out of Mexico.
I mean, he had achieved all that by the time I think he was 24. So, wow, that was
Yeah, that's
amazing.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
and someone commented on one of my. Oh yeah, that was on. I got to do it on. I think it was Candy on Instagram. I had posted something of Pancho Villa, who had packed
oh
a lot
yeah,
into a 6-year career. He had defeated Jimmy
wow,
Wild,
that
of course.
was, yeah, his career was really epic. Also,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think he was like 23 or 24 when
yeah,
he passed away or
he
something like that. It
died
might have been
from this,
23.
yeah, ulcerated tooth, or not one, but
Yeah,
several. Yeah, he had like
yeah, I
something
had
like
saw something. Yeah, he was getting tooth or something pulled or maybe or something
yeah.
done.
And then I think they gave him some kind of anesthetic that he was allergic to or something, and that's why he died. Yeah,
That's pretty crazy. You know, you've seen some eerie similar stories with some of the boxers
yeah,
from back then, of course, with like Harry Greb and Tiger Flowers, a similar situation. I'm
yeah.
sure there are others out there who had to do with anesthesia, which is I guess
Hmm.
pretty dangerous. Especially more so
Yeah,
back
back
then.
then, yeah, back then it was definitely, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
these were young guys, and this was happening.
yeah, it was tragic.
A complete heavyweight package that may have knocked him down. He slipped a lot because of the sheer explosion he generated. Oh yes, indeed. This is
Yeah.
yeah, Iron Mike. But yeah, you're right. He was that type of guy. Yeah, it was amazing looking back at some of his stuff. I mean, the way he put his combinations together, it was some explosive
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, when I watched that fight against Goloda, for instance, he was
Oh
like,
yeah,
when he lands that that was like being hit by, I don't know, uh an airplane or something.
yeah. And Tyson, this was the version of Tyson who was really he was just pretty much loading up on stuff at that
Yeah.
particular time.
And he
And
was
yeah,
like, I think he kind of, that punch pierced the bone in the head of Golota. Come on, that's crazy, really.
wow,
That's
yeah, I
why
just
he,
saw that recently in terms of that knockout on one of these shorts that was floating around. It was just it was one for the ages for sure. Just
yeah,
to talk about full force.
like
Yeah, that's why
nobody,
Tyson is one of my favorites all time for sure.
yeah. And he
He's an
was a
exciting
tough
fighter.
guy. Yeah, that guy, I mean, Golota was a tough guy. So you could
Hmm.
see he had to quit for a reason, So
Yeah,
he felt that that
Francois.
something was not right, inside the head. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. Yeah. Oh yeah, Galata. So I was thinking of Francois Botha, but yeah,
Oh,
you're talking about
Bolta,
Galata.
yeah.
Yeah, both of them, but both of them were explosive.
Yeah.
Tyson was explosive in both of those.
Oh, yeah. Bolta fight was just.
Yeah, Galata. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. Some would argue he was a head case in some sense.
Yeah, he did have some kind of issues. I'm not sure, but
When he fought Danny Lopez the first time and completely dominated a popular excellent champion
yeah,
Lopez. Okay, so
Danny
cool. I think
Lopez. Yeah, I think he had made like 8 defenses before that. Danny Lopez, and he beat guys like David Cote, and some really good guys, good fighters.
cool.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff indeed. So I had another thing I had on the list. Now this goes way back, way back, but like sometimes talking about the way back. But
Oh yeah, that's
John
that's the
L.
one.
Sullivan.
Yeah, the toughest SOB ever.
The first
Of,
recognized world heavyweight champion, I guess, in boxing. Even though there have been the likes of other forms of boxing or fighting, I guess you
yeah,
could say, that were taking place. But I guess this really kind of ties to the Marcus Queensberry rules. So I just
yeah,
put a video up here, Slavin, in terms of released it on the page of how John L. Sullivan changed boxing. and it really just kind of touches on his fight with Paddy Ryan in 1882, and then his 1889 matchup with
The
Jake
Boston
Kilrain, which were
Strongboy.
both they were both bare knuckle fights,
Yeah,
uh, and but he was
he
very
was.
much a gloved fighter, a Marcus of Queensberry fighter. Uh,
Well,
and
I didn't know he only lost one fight. That was the last one to Corbett.
yes,
Jeez.
yes, yes. And he was past it at that particular point. He was only
Yeah.
probably like 32 at the time or something like that. But he had a wild lifestyle, you know. He had a pretty
All right.
wild lifestyle, a lot of drinking and who knows what. And he had
Like Max Bear, pretty much.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Max. Yeah, Max was goofy. Yeah, he's one of those guys. But Sullivan, yeah, he got into some trouble at times for his drinking
All
and
right.
and you know assaulting people in public, that type of
Hmm.
stuff. So he was really a mess there at one particular point. So when he fought Corbett, he was coming off of a layoff, and he was actually not in the best of shape because he had been
Right.
working in his previous fight with Jake Kilrain, William Muldoon, who is this one of those wrestlers from Greco-Roman style wrestlers from back in the day who was very successful. So he
Hmm.
trained him for that Kilrain fight, and Sullivan was able to go 70 plus rounds, I believe it was. It
Hmm.
was like two plus
Wow.
hour fight. But he was a bit of a shell of himself when he fought Corbett there in 1892. And of course, he
Yeah.
never fought again after that. He did do some exhibitions and that type of stuff, but he did, of course, not fight anything of significance thereafter.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
and then VD66, when Harry Greb and Stanley Ketchel died, the doctors were instructed to start counting over them, and they would get
Mhm.
up.
That was
That's funny.
pretty cool.
Yeah, both tough cookies right there. Those
Yeah,
were both
really
some tough
tough.
SOVs. Yeah. Um, yeah, both a crazy story. And this is something that's been shared. Yeah, boxers. There's a lot of great stories for boxers in the past. They were going through some pretty crazy stuff in those particular times.
Oh
But
yeah.
I would say, yeah, and with the Sullivan thing. So yeah, the video touches on sort of how he changed boxing, and really it was a matter of the Police Gazette was the big paper at the time, and there was sort of an ongoing battle between he and this guy Richard Kyle Fox, who was over the Police Gazette, and it had to do something to do with Sullivan, I guess, stiffing him at some bar or something. He came up to introduce himself or whatever, and Sullivan kind of gaffed him off, blew him away. So therefore, they would have sort of a back and forth rivalry. So Fox
All
never
right.
truly recognized him as the world heavyweight champion in a Police Gazette, and he always bet against him for the most part. But he ended up, defeating Jake Kilrain in what was a big fight at the time that was considered to be the passing of the torch in some sense, in crowning the world heavyweight champion. And he did so, and that's how he eventually was recognized as the sort of lineal champion. Um, Thanks, Rodolfo. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good. It's some stories. And yeah, it just kind of touches on that rivalry between, I would say, more so Sullivan and Richard Kyle Fox. But of course, there are some fights tied to that as well. But yeah, it's very interesting times. And to think about
Mm.
Sullivan, I like Sullivan, but yeah, he was. I think he was probably a little bit more. He was probably a brawler without a doubt. I think he probably had a few tricks to the trade that probably weren't super special and advanced as it could have been, but I think he probably had some wrinkles that were a bit more than just that sort of brawler-esque type of aspect. But that being said, there were some fighters he didn't face ultimately during his reign. While he is recognized as the best, and he
Yeah.
only has that one loss, at least on paper, to Corbett. He didn't face the likes of Peter Jackson, the Black Prince Peter Jackson. He was born in the West Indies, but really took up Australia as his home. Him,
Yeah.
George Godfrey, the original George Godfrey, who I
Godfrey.
heard that there was a fight at one time sort of lined up and they were about to go and then police came and broke it up before they could actually do anything. So that would have been a good
Ooh.
one. And then there were other, so it wasn't just those that, but there were other even like white fighters. Say for instance, Irish Peter Marr. He didn't take on him. Peter Marr's a great fighter from back in the 1800s or late
Oh
1800s,
yeah.
and he didn't get a shot at Sullivan's title. Then you had like Frank Slavin, this Australian guy, as well as some
Mm,
others that were out there who were all in the mix and in and around the heavyweight division at that particular time. But he was able to, Sullivan become a superstar. He was at one point probably the most popular person in America, just by virtue of boxing sort of being at a high point, and it would, of course, go to even higher heights, and that kind of worked in his favor as the sport was kind of continuing to evolve and develop at that time into something that was more widely accepted, I would say. But yeah, I kind of get
yeah.
into that stuff from back then.
Yeah, that's pretty far back in history, of course.
Yes,
As
it is.
far back as you can go in boxing history, anyway.
Yeah, it is. A lot of people don't know about a lot of the stuff tied to that, to the times
Yeah,
back then. But hey, those were some tough times, of course. There were definitely some
yeah,
tough times.
yeah. There was, of course, the Irish tradition, with bare knuckle fighting, and then, of course, boxing. Many of those guys they went on and yeah, kind of
Yeah,
translated it into boxing. How do you say? Or went, yeah, from bare knuckling to boxing and
yeah,
somehow.
yeah, yeah. That was the case. It was yeah, it was a lot of that happened. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Sullivan referred to the Police Gazette championship belt as a dog collar. Cool, cool, good stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know yeah, that kind of ties to that beef, that ongoing beef. I think Sullivan eventually, and I know there was a championship belt that some fans had made of his as well. He ran into some financial issues later in life, but he was able to recover from it somewhat. By the time he was truly old and eventually died or whatever, but yeah, he that rivalry was probably one of the more premier here in the sport of boxing. Just thinking about, a lot of people don't know of it though. As far as his rivalry with the Police Gazette, in some sense, and I think that's what kind of helped to build up his stardom, build up his star in a sense, because of
Mm,
that, with a lot that was transpiring through the papers at that particular time. But
yeah.
it's definitely some good and interesting stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing a movie made of Sullivan's career in some sense. I think it would have a lot of highs and lows in the drama department that would make for a pretty exciting watch.
Yeah. Just wondering, looking at this picture, wondering who could play him. There are certainly several candidates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Maybe yeah, I'm sure they can find an actor out there that looked like him. But if they wanted to go with a boxer, maybe they could go with old Spike
Oh,
O'Sullivan.
yeah, that's right.
He
I'm
seems
sure
to
he
have
would
the
be.
makeup right now.
He would have loved to get that role. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I,
yeah,
yeah, I
that
say that he could
famous
definitely be one.
mustache. Such a fine mustache they both have.
Yeah, yeah, he could. Because when they made the Ali movie, James Toney was
Yeah,
Frazier,
Fraser.
and I thought that was a
Yeah.
good casting somewhat.
Well, even though he doesn't really look like him, but still, yeah, it was rather
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah. To
small
get
head.
get a true feel for, if you want to get a real boxer in there, then yeah, it was a good sort of casting. But yeah, he didn't
Yeah,
look like him per se.
no.
Um, Rodolfo, a Sam Langford movie would be awesome too, or even Jack Johnson. Hey, I totally agree. Supposedly there is a Jack Johnson movie that
Yeah,
I've heard being tossed
an
out there
old
in the
one.
works.
Yeah, or that there was also one that came out in the 70s, 67, I don't know, something like that.
Oh yeah,
Jack Nicholson movie, yeah. There was
I'm
one.
gonna
I
have to
know
look that up.
because Miles Davis, he did the music actually, I think, for that movie, yeah. Miles
I'm gonna have to look
Davis.
that up.
Yeah.
'Cause
So,
that is interesting. But yeah, I think a new age version of a Jack Johnson movie, considering where we are
yeah.
now, would be pretty awesome and epic. So I don't know. I think this movie is actually something legitimate. They got the guy who I know his last name is Ali, but I think he's a good casting. I'm gonna see what is like Marshall or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's a very good actor, Mahershala. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali. So
He's
yeah, that was thrown out there. So I don't know where they are with the movie, just from
hmm,
an overall perspective. But
interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, I think he could pull it off. Yeah, I mean, he will. He's a very good actor anyway. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I don't know how much he looks like Johnson, but it doesn't really matter that much
yeah,
today.
yeah. It's not a definitive sort of one for one as far as the look of Johnson, but I
Yeah,
think they could definitely work around that. I think he's a great enough actor that yeah he
I
could
mean,
bring
Will
Johnson's
Will Smith
personality to
didn't
life.
Will Smith didn't look like anything like Ali either, so
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
still praised for that performance. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Maybe the guy there's this movie called One Night in Miami where this guy played Ali in that movie, and he looked probably a bit more like Ali than
or
Will Smith
I haven't
did.
seen it.
Yeah,
No.
I gotta check it out myself. But yeah, it's called One Night in Miami. It really focuses on more so.
And Mark Wahlberg didn't look like Mickey Ward really, so either.
Oh
So
yeah, 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 yeah. And but I think it worked because probably not a lot of people knew what Mickey Ward really looked like.
yeah,
But yeah, he didn't.
Very Irish kind of
Yeah,
look.
as well as Kristen Bell didn't really look like the brother, but
Yeah,
it kind of worked out.
but he did really nail his, his move. I mean, everything the way he jumped around in the ring and all that. I
Yeah,
watched that. The real Dickie Eklund. He's
yeah,
simply
yeah. Dickie Eklund, yeah, that's his
the
name.
same as yeah.
Yeah, he did a good. But yeah, I thought it was a great movie, well put together. I also thought that the Cans of Stone movie was very good, well put together as
Yeah,
well. And
I
the
did like.
guy, I could see him as Duran somewhat. I thought it was very
Yeah,
good.
even though he wasn't the first choice, I believe there was a Mexican actor who actually really resembles Duran even more than. But I don't know why he wasn't cast. But this guy also did a good job. But his name is
Yeah.
Edgar Ramirez. Yeah, that's right. Ramirez.
Look up the Irish
He's
Travelers bare knuckle fights as a comparison to Sullivan's era. I'll have to look that up for sure.
Yeah, we actually have a guy in the group who is undefeated Irish bare knuckle fighter, but he hasn't been very active. That
Oh
guy,
yeah,
James Quinn McDonough, yeah, a very nice guy.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I did see something. I think Vice did, maybe Vice News or whatever. They did something, or I saw something one time of some guys doing some bare knuckle stuff as well. I can't remember the
Yeah,
full degree of what was actually being discussed and everything, or, or,
mhm.
or or who the individuals were and all of that. But I do remember seeing something of that
Maybe
tune, and I know they still
did you
have some of that stuff going on. It's
did you
crazy.
see what did you see what he looked like? Because if he was bald and kind of
No, it wasn't a
tall,
ball. I feel like this guy had
no,
some hair. He had some
all right,
hair.
well then it's not James. Maybe it was his brother. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it could have
Maybe
potentially been. I occasionally still get a reminder of it, when it pops up on my YouTube feed. I
all
haven't
right.
checked it out in a while. I'll have to look back into it. Good suggestion there, Vinny. So yeah, that bare knuckle stuff they see that's something. I don't know a ton about the bare knuckle
So,
era when
mhm.
you look at it from really sort of dig into it in terms of who were the top guys back then and how they went about everything. I know a little bit and I think I've mentioned this before. Just some of the top names, the likes of Tom Molyneux and Bill Richmond and Tom
Mm.
Cribb and Mendoza. I think I mentioned this in our last live, as a matter of fact. But I know those guys were really
Something.
putting in some tough work
Imagine
back
if,
then.
imagine if there was a fighter who called himself something Mendoza. That would be really funny.
Yeah, that would be interesting. What's
Yeah,
something? Rodolfo
John.
Rivera, The Great White Hope is a movie I think you're referring to. I'm seeing the voice
Oh
actor of Darth
yeah,
Vader in it, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah,
He
I
was.
haven't.
Yeah, he was played by, but that wasn't really Johnson. That was about a fighter who kind of represented Jack Johnson, but it wasn't really, he did, his name was not Johnson in the movie, not Jack Johnson. I
Oh,
think
okay. So
I
I
was
haven't seen
talking
it.
about, yeah, I was talking, there is another movie actually that is about Jack Johnson
Is it a
directly.
documentary or did they have people acting?
I'm not sure really. I think maybe it was a documentary, but I'm not.
Because there is,
Uh,
I did see, I
yeah,
had looked up something here and it says Jack Johnson 1970 on IMDb. It says a documentary
yeah, I
on
think
Jack
that's the
Johnson.
one. If Miles Davis did the music, then that's the one because I know he
Oh,
did.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that
because
makes
Great White Hope is like about Johnson, but not directly. Like
see, I haven't seen that. So I was wondering if it was about Jim Jeffries, but maybe not. It's just
yeah,
about
because
boxers in general during that era who they were looking for the sort of the Great White Hope to dethrone
yeah,
Johnson.
because in the end he loses. Like Johnson lost to Jess Willard. He
Yeah,
loses to a really tall, white fighter.
in
Like
that
huge.
movie.
Yeah, in the movie. Who
Okay.
also has another name. He's not called Jess Willard, but he does represent Jess Willard.
Oh, so they used that. So they didn't use real boxer names in this movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Guess that's sort of a rights thing, huh?
yeah, probably. I know James Earl Jones. He played Jack Johnson. I
Okay.
like.
Yeah, I see a little trailer here. Yeah, I do see him looking here. Yeah, he doesn't look like him, but
Yeah,
of course that's just one of those things.
I think.
But that is
I
pretty
think.
interesting.
Yeah, James Earl Jones is probably. He did look pretty much like Johnson. I think he's about the same height even as Johnson, so he was a good choice, even though he did not, yeah, directly play Johnson. That's
Yeah, I'm seeing a picture here. Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, he does have somewhat a decent look. I'm gonna have to check that out, because I haven't. I
mm,
know there's a Jack Dempsey movie out there as well. I had started to watch, but I haven't watched it. I only got
Dempsey. Yeah,
maybe a few minutes in, but it's
then
like
there. Yeah,
yeah, it's like a real, I guess, one that covers his career or something. I know it's on YouTube. I forget what I think it's just called Jack Dempsey or something like that. But
all
I'm
right.
gonna, I need to fully check that out to kind of see what it ultimately touches on because I don't know
Yeah,
what all is covered in there.
boxing movies have I think become pretty in again because now you had also the fighter. You had also the movie
Yeah.
about Vinny Paz. Which is
Oh yeah,
called
I still need to
yeah.
watch that. Yeah,
What
that's
is it called? Bleed for it or something. Yeah.
yeah. I need to watch that. I do still need to watch this. Watch
And
that. I
then
think yeah, bleed
also,
for this.
of course, the Creed movies, even though that was about a fictional character, but still,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, those have seemingly done pretty well. Carrying
Mm,
on that Rocky story in some sense. So I
yeah,
did like the way those were put together. Um,
that's right.
Rodolfo.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I've seen the
me
Dempsey movie,
too.
even a Marciano. See, I didn't know there was a Marciano one out there.
I'm not sure which. I know there's one which where that guy John Favreau plays him. But that's from like '98 or something. I have seen that one. Not the entire movie, but I've seen a lot of it. Anyway. It's
Cool, cool.
it's
I'm gonna have to
pretty
check that out.
decent.
If you know the
Yeah.
name of that Rodolfo, feel free to share that Marciano movie. Uh, or I'm gonna look it up here eventually as well. And then
Yeah,
Vinny 66, a great documentary of Jack Johnson's life is
yeah.
Unforgivable
That's
Blackness. Yeah, I've seen that. I did think it was pretty good. You know, I had someone
Bill
on
Burns. Yeah.
Facebook tell me who I know is a knowledgeable guy. He said that he felt that it was a terrible movie and it uh told a lot of lies. I don't know, but I thought it was good. I'm there with you, Vinny, in terms of
like
Unforgivable Blackness. I thought it was pretty good.
like with Sugar Ray Robinson, right? I mean, some of those documentaries were just praising him made to looking good, while there are
Yeah,
also some who say he wasn't really that nice, to guy in reality, in real life. So
yeah. I've seen some that have alluded to it in some sense that he had had a darker side to him, and it
yeah.
seemed to allude to some like domestic violence type stuff.
Oh wow, I didn't
But
know that.
they didn't really touch on it. They just kind of
Oh
allude to it in what I've seen. So I don't know the full
yeah.
gist of it, but I've seen it referenced.
I think the best boxing movie is still the Raging Bull. That's my opinion anyway. With Jake LaMotta, that's
Oh yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. I know that's a classic one. I still need to watch that.
yeah.
I gotta be honest. I need to watch it. De
And
Niro
Jake
played.
is yeah, he's such a perfect character to make a movie about. I mean, boxer Jake
You
LaMotta.
liked Raging Bull?
Yeah,
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah,
yeah,
shit.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, good stuff. Then, so yeah, I need to check it out. I've been saying that for years that I'm gonna check it out, but I haven't sat down to do it. I'm
There's
familiar
a
with the
scene where
story.
he complains to his brother, "I have small hands." He says, "What can I do with these small?" And that's probably the reason why he didn't. He couldn't really hit so hard. So I think probably
Yeah,
because his hands were too small. Too small.
he could certainly take a shot.
Yeah, well, that's you can say 100%.
Yeah,
You can
without a
take
doubt.
that to the bank.
Without a doubt. VD66, they should cast former Titans running back Eddie George as Jack Johnson, Heath Johnson's doppelganger. Oh, yeah, Eddie George. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, Eddie George is a big guy as well in terms of size wise. Not quite
Yeah,
6'3", but or
built
no, Johnson was only like 6 foot. Maybe there's some have suggested
six
he was six foot
one.
one. So yeah, that is pretty
Yeah,
adequate size comparison.
kind of like Sonny Liston, I think, in that same range. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I like Sonny Liston. He's one of my favorite heavyweights
yeah.
of the past. He just so happened to be from Arkansas as well, just where I'm from.
Like, yeah, that's right.
He's a
I
tough,
forgot.
tough guy. Yeah, it's a live action movie. I think it came out in 1999. The movie name is just his
Mhm.
name. Okay, so Rocky Marciano movie.
Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, I also found out some things I didn't know about him and his career, so that was good. Good.
So
Yeah,
this was 99. Oh yeah, I see it here on YouTube. I had to check it out.
John
So
Favreau doesn't
so that
really
movie.
look like him, but he did a pretty good. Yeah, part.
Okay, so I made this little video on Harry Half, who is that guy who was the
Oh,
Holocaust survivor. He fought
yeah,
Rocky Marciano. So I'm guessing he's in there. I need to watch it. Matter of fact, I might try to watch that today. But it's called The Survivor, so it's a new one. I think it focuses on the full gist of Harry Half's story. I had just found out about him. I didn't really know of him, but he was
yeah.
a heck of a guy in terms of what he went through
Harry,
and was able to still become a professional boxer. It's
yeah,
James Earl
Harry.
Jones. Okay,
Well,
cool,
yeah,
cool.
that's right. He lost in 3 rounds in 49. I see now.
Yeah, he only had a 2-year career. It was like 48 through 49, but he packed in some different fights. He took on, so his best two fights or two notable opponents were Ron Starza and Rocky
Yeah,
Marciano, or
he
Roland
wasn't.
Starza.
He was really a light heavyweight. It seems like more like
Hmm.
because he was only 5'9". See, so he wasn't
Yeah,
a
yeah, he
real
was, yeah,
heavyweight.
more so that, but he was a tough guy. So apparently he had a bunch of fights while he was in this concentration camp, over
Yeah, he
70
looked really
fights.
kind of quite strongly built. Yeah,
Yeah, he
rich.
had solid size to him. Yeah, a solid build to him. So I think that is interesting. I think
Yeah,
he probably just learned to fight by having to fight in those concentration camps, but to make it through what he made it through, that's some
yeah,
pretty
that was
crazy.
enough to to really make him kind of strong. Yeah,
Xavier the Boxing Nerd, welcome. Appreciate you dropping in, buddy. Shakur did
mm,
great last night. I read about the fight. Haven't seen any clip or picture yet. I know that there's no Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we were discussing that. There is no dispute whatsoever. There's not a case that can be made for Oscar Valdez. The only thing you can make a case for is maybe he
well,
won
there's
2 rounds as opposed to one.
yeah.
I
No,
only
well,
gave
there's got robbed. No,
yeah,
but
like what kind of decision? I actually, and maybe I missed something, but I actually didn't give Valdez a single round. Uh, but some gave
wow,
him one or two, So, but you never know. It depends on what you're looking for. I just thought that it was a thorough outboxing, but yeah,
yeah,
Valdez, man, he
I
looked
have to
very
watch.
ordinary last night.
Yeah, I have to watch that fight. And I thought, when he thinking about, I mean, considering some of those allegations he had, about steroids and stuff, I thought maybe his mind was just not in the right place now, and
Yeah,
maybe that's a part of it why he lost so convincingly. Anyway.
yeah,
So I don't know.
I did feel that that Shakir might have gotten to his head somewhat too.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Yeah, hey,
like
Shakir
with
backed it up.
Teofimo, with Teofimo and Cambosos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So Xavier the Boxer, I did it because I was too tired last night, and also prove the point that footage is not needed if there's adequate coverage of a fight. 100%,
yeah,
Xavier. 100%. A lot of the stuff that I see. So when I'm making these videos on 86, this 86 boxing page, on like how good X boxer was, such and such or whatever, I go through and I try and find what coverage is out there. Like a lot of the stuff that I put in there comes from the newspapers coverage. I use mainly Chronicling America, which is the Library of Congress here, or it's backed by the Library of Congress for here in the U.S. or whatever. And a lot of those guys had excellent coverage back in the day, newspaper coverage. So yeah, of course, you didn't need film. And yeah, people who make that argument, I think they're just being short-sighted because for instance, if a fighter is referenced as being a top caliber fighter by some of the sort of big names in the world of media, even before you've seen this fighter, you can make an assumption that hey, yeah, he probably is pretty damn good, And it's the same thing back there. You had all these the top level media companies, newspapers at that particular time covering these fighters, so they really were in depth with what they put down there. So I've gone through a ton of them, and they did have better coverage, even more so than some of the fighters get today here in the modern times. Because they're guys who are in or around this, or who are some sort of near that top level of the sport who don't get as much coverage as one would expect, and that's even here today
yeah.
with all of the stuff that is available. And of course, fans are going to be picky and choosy on what they check out. So a lot of those guys who use that little footage argument, I think they're short sighted for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
Subconsciously, people can give some pity around because they didn't look as horrible for one of the dozen rounds.
Yeah,
Give some
that
pity.
can happen. Yeah, I
A
think.
pity round. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That can happen. You're right. You're right. Yeah, I think that's one of those things too. I know I've done that before in the past. I was like, oh, he did land a few things there, so maybe. But
I
yeah, I know
think.
that's not the way to go, really.
Yeah, that's what after that Pacquiao Margarito fight, when Stewart and Lampley were talking, and then Lampley was kind of feeling sorry about Margarito, and yeah, he did win at least one round, didn't he, Emmanuel? And he goes, yeah, he won the seventh round. It was like obvious that he was
Yeah,
just giving him that one round.
yeah. So Valdez, he looked like a. Yeah, it was no question. He just looked like a beaten fighter last night, and
Yeah.
yeah, to go that many rounds and just have absolutely no success for the most part. Yeah, it's tough.
Mm.
Vinny, unfortunately, most fighters' darker side is what makes them fighters. I would much rather have seen a good artist. It hurts. Yeah. You are correct, Vinny. I
Yeah,
mean, those are the stories that bring about the appeal, and of course, some of those guys back then, even some now, but back then for sure, yeah,
yeah,
the stories
r-
that led them to, of course, joining the ranks of becoming a fighter, which
yeah.
isn't necessarily a glamorous thing. Yeah, there's some pretty crazy stuff.
You had
So,
that guy boxing out of jail, like James Scott, light heavyweight from the 70s. He was
oh yeah,
in jail and having fights there. He beat Eddie Mustafa Muhammad actually in jail,
oh
fighting
wow,
in
I
jail.
didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
pretty
he was
amazing.
really good, but that's what it's the tragedy. He was just such a wild. I mean, yeah, such a how do you call it? No, he just was a true born criminal. I mean, so
Yeah, that's crazy. That is
yeah,
pretty crazy. So yeah, Sony Liston had he has a story of pretty crazy, some crazy stuff
yeah.
in his
Rubin
younger
Carter also. I
younger
mean,
days.
that movie Hurricane, I thought was so historically inaccurate because it
Oh yeah.
portrayed Carter as a true, like almost like a saint, But I mean,
Okay.
I've read about him a lot and seen some also documentaries. Well, one anyway, and they say he was really, I mean, always kind of up to no good before he became a boxer. Also,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Reuben Hurricane Carter.
he had
Yeah,
a really,
that might have definitely been the case.
yeah, yeah, he had a nasty dark side. Definitely, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
remember
don't
the
know if,
movie and I know a little bit about him, but yeah, I haven't looked a ton into him,
yeah,
but definitely remember the movie. It was a good movie as far as for what it
yeah.
was worth as far as
It
how they put it
was,
together, story
yeah,
and
it
all that stuff.
was
But yeah.
as a movie, yeah. But I just felt they were a little too, too generous, and also how they show the Joey Jardel fight, like
Oh
Carter
yeah.
just pounding him like bloody, and he doesn't get the decision, and that's not really what happened in the real fight, I think.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay. I think I've seen some uh Hurricane Carter stuff. I don't know if I've seen
yeah,
that.
he
I've
was
seen some
pretty.
clips on YouTube. I know they have some things.
He was a hard puncher, but yeah,
Cool.
maybe not such a technically great fighter anyway.
Yeah. I know he had a tough sort of resume as far as or
Yeah,
somewhat tough resume. He did fight some pretty tough guys
he knocked
when
out
he
Emil
got out.
Griffith in one round actually. So
Yeah, and Emil, he was a beast. Emil Griffith.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a beast, multi-time welterweight champion.
but Dick Tiger kind of beat up Carter. That's what I know.
Oh
Dick
yeah, Dick
Tiger.
Tiger, Nigerian. He was good. He was very
Yeah,
good.
he was outstanding, really.
Yeah, he was a top caliber guy. But yeah, I'm with you,
Strong.
Rodolfo. Yeah, it did look like Oscar was ready to go. And yeah, it was. That's something we were pointing out as well. Yeah, he didn't want to answer all those questions. It did go on for a good little bit.
Yeah, he
What up?
should have just left. I think one should not have to, answer in the ring anyway. After if they don't feel like it, if they after they lose,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Holyfield the
Some do.
first.
Some just dip
Yeah,
out.
yeah, Holyfield first time he lost to Bo, he didn't wanna he answered the questions in his dressing room. So I thought that was fair.
Yeah, I've seen it happen on occasion. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, some are out of there. Yeah, you're right, Rodolfo. Master class indeed.
Mm,
Master freaking class. Xavier the Boxing Nerd. Yeah, I like Harry Grubb. It's more time to read about his outing or yeah, than watching all of the Floyd fight. Yep,
okay.
yeah. Even without all of the other fight, read about Grubb versus 21 and watch Tooney's other fight. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, that should say enough right there. Just looking at the resume of Harry Grubb, I for one view him as pretty much having the best resume, top to bottom, in the sport. Just
Yeah,
looking at the history of it and all that stuff. Just look at the number of ranked guys, number of Hall of Famers, just top caliber opponents he faced. Yeah, he has to be. like one
Yeah.
of the two or three with the best resume. Langford is another one with one like that. But I think I would even put Harry Grabb's resume slightly over Langford's. Just in thinking about it, though Langford did have a better sort of better outing at higher weights by comparison. Um, if you
But
look at the totality of what he did, but yeah, Greb is an excellent resume. Yeah, reading some of that stuff is insane.
but
Some of the fights.
did Grab and Tony fight at light heavyweight or heavyweight? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was light heavyweight,
Oh
I
yeah,
believe.
right. So Grab
Yeah,
never fought as a heavyweight because he was too small for it. Yeah, I thought
yeah. I don't recall if he had. Maybe someone knows here. I know he fought
five
some
eight
guys
or
who competed
something.
at heavyweight, of course, with Tooney being one of them. He fought Tommy Gibbons. I don't know if it
Yeah,
was that heavyweight or whatever.
yeah.
But he did
So
fight some guys who definitely competed and were true players
all
at
right.
heavyweight.
Hmm. Yeah, that was kind of common back then. You had like
Yeah.
those guys, Jack Delaney. Well, he did fight at
Oh
heavy
yeah.
actually for a while. Jack and Gus
Delaney.
Gus Lasnovich. He actually
Oh
also.
yeah, Gus Lesnovich. Yeah, I know
Uh,
the name. I don't know a ton about Delaney or Lesnovich, but I know of them and them being true players in the
yeah,
sport for sure. That
yeah.
is definitely top caliber stuff. That's the stuff you have to take into account when you look at these fighters, those resumes and all of that.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure they got sued for libel by the Gallardo family for the fake
Oh
narrative of the
yeah,
fighting. Oh yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Because they did actually present that fight as a total robbery. I remember that
Wow. Wow, I'm
because
gonna have to look back. So when I
yeah,
watched Hurricane Carter, it was back when I was somewhat younger, and yeah, I don't know if I knew enough about some of the guys who were fighting in and around that time. I hadn't dove into the historic aspect like that as of yet. So it'll be good to go back and check this out now and see who all kind of crops up in that movie, and I think I could have a better picture of some of the things because it has been a minute.
and that guy James Scott, he was also actually in jail for a while with Carter, so he sparred him. So he
Mm,
was the only guy who could last 3 rounds with. But he was young. Scott was young.
yeah. Yeah, Xavier the Boxer. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, he didn't have the
For,
luxury. Yeah, that is true. Looking back on some of that stuff, I think
yeah,
Boxing Librarian does a good job of pointing that type of stuff out. Yeah, pre rankings era, a lot of these guys were putting in crazy amount of work that, and
yeah,
he's gone through the process. I know of doing some stuff, constructing some of these rankings just based on the knowledge that he has and going through and doing the research and all that stuff. But that is true.
mm,
And I know for part of Harry Grabb's career, that was the case as well. So some of these guys, you can say they've even been shortchanged a bit because of such.
mm.
And of course, you have the luxury of that today, just because of where we advanced technology wise and how stuff is out there. So it is pretty crazy thinking about it. Yeah, Rodolfo, in agreement. Yeah, yeah, we're with you there. Um,
Yeah, it's like you don't know who. I mean, he boxed. Took them so long to discover. Langford, that he was very anonymous. It's like he boxed for nothing almost, except for his own,
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
goals. Yeah,
Yeah, I am happy that we get some footage of these guys. There's a little bit out there, so it is good that we get to see how some of them were. Even the stuff you're reading is top caliber. Like reading, because when some of the videos I make, you'll go back. So this is touching on the reading aspect of it, but those guys
yeah,
were. Man, those guys were in some tough situations, fighting and all of that stuff, and you got to commend them because there were really some rugged fights. I think about like non-pareil Jack Dempsey. He's the first Jack,
yeah. Non pro.
the,
Yeah,
the original Jack Dempsey, I guess you can say, from as
from
far as boxing is concerned.
yeah.
But
He's
yeah, there's no video of him, but reading some of the stuff, man, it's a tough
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, I believe he was from Ireland originally. I mean,
Yeah,
was born there and maybe even raised. So
Yeah, he was
that's
fighting some top caliber guys,
yeah.
and they were doing stuff. Basically, he fought a lot of bare knuckle stuff as well.
No, for real, yeah. That's I heard of him first time I think a long time ago, but I never really saw
Yeah,
any footage or anything. So I don't know if there is any.
yeah. No, they're not. No, there's not any footage. There are few
Yeah.
pictures out there. Uh, the closest thing to footage is in a little video I have of him. This little picture movement thing. You use this
Oh,
program, and you could see
well,
him.
you don't see anything pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, all you're seeing is his face moving and all of that stuff,
Oh
as though
yeah.
you were seeing him alive in video. But yeah, they don't have any
That's
video footage.
just.
And unfortunately, he died of tuberculosis. He was only like 32 or whatever,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
or something like that at the time. So
I
that's
think
what cut his career short. And he'd already put in a lot of work, and he was regarded as the top guy during that time.
that's right.
Probably even more so than Sullivan, because Sullivan, of course, was the heavyweight. But if you look at it just as far as if you looked at sort of the popularity and who was the better fighter, of course, Nonpareil Jack Dempsey was a better fighter than John L. Sullivan without a doubt. But he didn't have the same popularity. It could be argued they were there sort of on par, but Sullivan did get the popularity. I think it's just because you know how the heavyweights is with those
Mm,
big guys or whatever.
yeah, definitely. There
But
was still.
it's arguable that at no point in time Sullivan was the best fighter
Mm,
in the world. You know what I'm saying? It could be argued for
yeah.
sure.
And especially those lowest division. I mean, I discovered guys like Jimmy Carruthers, for instance, from Australia. I didn't know he
Mm,
was a world champion. Actually, defeated Victor. How is I don't know Tawil or however his name is
mm.
pronounced
Who was
twice.
that?
Jimmy Carruthers,
Jimmy Carruthers. I don't know if I know him. I don't
a
know.
bantamweight from Australia.
Oh,
He was world
Bantamweight.
champion in
Jimmy
the
Carruthers.
50s, the early 50s.
Okay,
So
I'll have to check him out.
he was like a very, that kind of Henry Armstrong type
Oh,
fighter, like
Carruthers.
very aggressive, threw a lot of punches, and yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
I see him. Yeah, he was Australian.
Yeah,
Good stuff, y'all.
Australia.
Australia has produced some pretty good fighters. Looking
Yeah,
back
they have
through
actually.
history.
When you think of it, they don't really have so many, such a large population, or especially back then they didn't have that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's the name? Les Darcy. He was this great middleweight
Oh yeah.
from around the time of that Harry Greb was fighting as well. They never got
Mm,
to fight, but he was only 21, I believe, and he died of. Uh, I want to
mm.
say he got sick with the flu or something of that nature, and it
Oh
ultimately
yeah.
died. But it was something. It was right as he hadn't been in America that long, and there was talks of him facing Harry Greb, but it never got to materialize.
Yeah.
Would have been cool to see for sure.
Yeah, a nice quote from Winnie.
Oh
Boxing
yeah,
saved me from myself by taking the time away from me to do the stupid thing. Yeah, that's right.
yeah. I'm definitely in agreement with you there, Vinny. That is good stuff without a doubt.
Yeah, it's definitely better boxing in a gym training than going out and doing drugs and drinking and fighting, in bars. Definitely.
hmm
Yeah. No
Vinny,
argument.
if you hear, did you fight as a pro or just amateur? Well, if you hear that, you can definitely let us know. Xavier the
Ron Rich.
boxing nerd. Ron Richards was good in his time too. He was ranked in the 40s. Film of the him fighting Archie Moore is on the internet. Okay, okay. Ron Richards versus Archie Moore. I have to check that out because I don't know of Ron Richards.
No, neither do I.
But of course, there are a ton of boxers out there, especially in the past, that people.
Tiger Jack Fox is one I discovered very
Tiger Jack
recently.
Fox. I know the name for sure.
Yeah, what a name! Really a perfect fighting name if you think about
Yeah.
it. Tiger Fox.
Yeah. I see Ron Richards. I guess Ron Richards and Archie fought twice or at least two times, maybe even more. I don't know. But I see a second one popping up as well. Uh, Australian fight. Okay, okay, cool. Xavier, so Australia. Yeah, Australia. Yeah, they did. They have produced some pretty great fighters over the years.
There
I
was
was seeing who
yeah,
was I talking? Oh yeah, I was talking with Randy McKissick. Thought he had Mitch and Kid Griffo, but so there's this guy, Young Griffo, who was a great fighter from Australia
yeah.
back in the day.
And
Uh,
Jam, I believe Jam Mace was also
oh
Australian.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, Frank Slavin was another good one.
Slaven, yeah, almost like my name, yeah. Almost my
mm,
namesake.
yeah, definitely good stuff, Rodolfo. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ron.
that's how I also sometimes discover some fighters by going through records of these more famous,
Mm-hmm.
fighters. Yeah,
Yeah. Same here. That's put me on a lot of fighters, especially researching a particular fighter and then getting looped in on some
yeah.
of their top fights.
I gotta check.
Tiger Jack Fox knocked out Jersey Joe Walcott 2 times, also beat Maxie Rosenblum. Hey, that in
Yeah, he
itself
did.
right there is top notch stuff.
But I think he lost. What was the name? Was that John Henry Lewis who was the champion, light
Okay,
heavy?
John Henry Lewis.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was good.
he definitely should also get more credit. I mean, be more known.
Yeah, I have this little shorts video I'm gonna post of him. But yeah, John Henry Lewis, and I became more familiar with him through the Braddock, through James J. Braddock, and I know they fought a couple of times. And James J.
Yeah,
Braddock, when he finally beat John Henry Lewis, that kind of what helped to
yeah,
get him back in the mix prior to getting that shot at Max Bear.
yeah, Braddock. Yeah. Hmm.
He has had some good land down under for that fight. Cool. Correction about five, knocked out Wildcat once and out punched
Yeah, I
second.
thought that
Okay.
sounds more correct. Yeah,
Jersey Joe. Okay,
Jersey.
that yeah, that hey, that's pretty cool. See, I'm not super familiar with Fox outside of his namesake. I had to check out more of his stuff. Um, outside of knowing that he was a player around that time,
Mm.
I do want to look up some stuff then.
But also you have guys who are from the other continents, like Arturo Godoy. Have you heard of him? He fought Joe Louis and nearly beat him, in the first fight.
Arturo
Godoy.
Godoy. Yeah, I don't.
He's a Chilean from Chile.
The name doesn't ring a bell off top,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah,
pretty awesome though.
he was very good.
If he got close with Joe Lewis, I know a couple of guys landed some pretty nice shots on Lewis that
Yeah,
to include even Tony Galento. He had
Valento,
prior to him getting
yeah.
stopped, he had landed a big punch on Lewis that looked like it hurt him. Uh,
And also, I think Mauriello, Tammy Mauriello.
okay,
Yeah, you know of him? Have you heard of him?
I don't know if I know of
He
him.
was called the Bronx Barkeep. That was his like alias.
No, I don't think I know, but that's pretty pretty
A
interesting.
really, really heavy puncher. He had really big power. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's pretty awesome. I had to check him out. I have to check him out. I'm gonna look through. I've looked up a lot of stuff on Joe Louis. I'll have to look through and dive more into some of his opponents. Of
Yeah.
course, I know all the big stuff or some of the bigger fights that he had.
Archie Moore was really, yeah, he was outstanding.
Yeah, Archie was a beast, truly a road warrior. There, I mean, this guy would fight anywhere, and man, what it took for him to finally get his title shot—that's crazy. You know,
Yeah,
had he gotten some of those shots earlier, I think he would be even more of a bigger star than what he is.
yeah, and to score so many knockouts, that was amazing. Like over
Yeah, he was.
100.
Yeah, he was the real deal.
Wow, yeah, the old mongoose.
The old mongoose. Yeah, and he just seemed like a great guy in terms of seeing some of his older interviews or interviews when
Yeah,
he was older. He just seemed like a great guy just in general.
we are about to reach 2 hour mark in a
Two
minute.
2 hour mark. Yeah, we're pretty much there, right?
Time flies.
Yeah, time definitely flies. Oh man, yeah, we're gonna have to I guess end this thing here
Yeah,
and give individuals the opportunity to digest.
yeah. I know when it's so long, many people just don't bother watching. Like, oh no, 2 hours. Come on, who's gonna watch that?
Yeah, yeah.
Or they
Sometimes
watch,
I'd put
yeah,
on some of those at night or something.
they maybe watch for 3, 4 minutes and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll try to see about cropping out certain parts or whatever, which kind of touch on some of the discussions
Yeah,
on some stuff. Billy Jones beat James Braddock. That was the last color light heavyweight champion I found. He beat Rosenblum and lost two. He's not credited with
yeah,
anything. Oh wow, interesting. Billy Jones. I don't know that I know Billy Jones, but that is pretty interesting right there, Xavier.
I think Harold Johnson was one of the most underrated fighters, really.
Oh yeah, Harold Johnson. I can't proclaim to know a ton about him, but I know he was highly regarded.
Were really fantastic, like technical fighter and really strong physically. Not really puncher, but yeah, he was really great, very tough too. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, Harold Johnson. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out more of his stuff too, man. There's so many. Yeah,
yeah,
when you
he was
start
a
going back, there's so many top caliber fighters out there.
yeah. He had that or two maybe actually really great fights with Archie Moore and
Mm.
one where he was ahead for really long, and then in the 14th round, I believe he got stopped. Very unlucky.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, Archie, man. I think Archie has what like 132 knockouts, which is
yeah.
insane.
It was really
I know there's some guy out there who's not widely known. I had saw it posted one time on Facebook who apparently has more knockouts. But I don't know if his level of competition was there on
oh
the. I don't
yeah.
believe it was on the caliber of Archie
He
Moore.
was fighting like cab drivers and stuff as they say,
Yeah, Archie's legit.
bartenders.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
was that?
yeah. I don't remember his name,
All right. Oh,
but I remember
that's
seeing it
fine.
on something. I don't remember his name, but yeah, the level of competition was not the same for sure. There's the
Yeah,
guy who knocked out Archie in the first round, June 2nd, 1948. Knocked him out in the
and
first round.
that
Who was that?
was Ezra Charles. Maybe I don't,
So Ezer knocked him out in the first round. Wow.
I don't know, maybe, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Sounds like something he could do anyway. Not that
Mhm.
many. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Ezer was a beast, and the crazy
he
thing
was.
is, he was really more so a middleweight who just moved up, to get
Yeah,
bigger paydays and more shots.
yeah. I remember I saw that picture where they compare him and Jersey Joe. That was like tail of tape, and like that was such a big difference in the way they
Yeah.
were built. Like Jersey Joe, really, big and massive, strong, true heavyweight, and this guy was really, like
Oh
slim
yeah.
and light. Yeah,
Okay, he's knocked out better fighter. He's not knocked out better fighters. The more. Okay. And then Ezer did it in 8. Okay, so it took him
yeah.
8. Okay. Yeah,
Lloyd,
Ezer. Yeah, Ezer beat Charlie Burley twice, I believe.
mm,
Who's
Lloyd
highly regarded.
Marshall. Lloyd Marshall. He was also pretty
Yeah,
good.
he was good. Another part of Black Murderers Row right there.
Yeah, he wasn't that known. I think. Well, not today anyway. He isn't.
Now, was he heavyweight,
No, he was a light heavyweight
light
mostly.
heavyweight?
I
I was trying
believe
to think. He,
was
I
it.
wonder if he fought Freddie Mills.
Yeah, I think he was it him. Yeah, probably.
So yeah, yeah, that might have been him.
Yeah,
Yeah, more light heavy. I know a lot of those guys, weight wise, Of course, they would probably be cruiserweights if they were fighting today, or light
Yeah,
heavyweights, somewhere in that mix, or bridger weight.
yeah, preacher weight. That's
Bridger
like
weight.
calling it nonsense weight, basically.
Bridger weight. Leonard Murrow knocked out Archie Moore in one round. Moore landed low and he extended his arms out to apologize. Moore took a edit. They
Wow.
had a rematch. Oh wow! Protect yourself at
Yeah,
all
that's
times, right?
because I that sounds weird to me. When Archie Moore, getting knocked out in one round, that's not easy to do.
Yeah, that certainly happens in terms of some of those moments where people get caught unexpectedly. That's how
Yeah,
uh, that's how Dempsey beat Jack Sharkey. Something similar.
all
Landed a
right.
low blow or whatever, and
Oh
Sharkey was
yeah,
looking to complain and got knocked out. And
yeah,
Kid Lewis got beat like that. I forget who did it, but he got knocked out in a similar fashion on something of that
yeah.
nature. But cool, yeah, we're 2 hours plus in.
Yes,
Slavin, I know that we're gonna have to cut this thing short, man.
yeah, about
I know
time.
it's night there, but dang,
Yeah, it's getting dark too.
we'll dig in next time. Next time around, we're gonna dig in, folks. Hey, we appreciate everybody that stopped in to check it out. Hey, more to come. We're probably going to try and do this next week. If anyone wants to hop on, feel free. Let me know. You can join the conversation as well. Just let me know. But yeah, we do appreciate you all dropping in. Thanks, Rodolfo. Have a good
Thanks.
rest of your day, everyone. Xavier, all who dropped, Melissa, uh, the first person, Syrian. Thank you all for dropping
Garen,
in. Vinny, oh
Garen.
yeah, and Vinny. Thank you for dropping in as well. So, but yeah, we do appreciate it. And I guess until next time, next week we might touch base next week. We'll let it be known.
Yeah.
All right, have a good one, Slavin.
Yeah. Same to you. Bye bye.
Bye.